It's the underrated track of the Italian tracks. This is a circuit which, by every stretch of the imagination, has it all. It's got a long straight. It's got elevation changes. It's got corners that boggle the mind. This is Mugello. This is a masterpiece, and the Grand Prix Legend Series finds itself in full force as we head ourselves here today. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone watching around the world. My name here is Jake Sperry with round 5 here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Alongside me in the booth for today's action is Joey Atterbury. Robert O'Brien is going to be on the cameras. He's directing them. They are provided by Dougie Beard. But Mugello, a circuit which has remained almost unchanged for nearly, I would say, half a century. This is a wonderful racetrack with a brilliant flow about it. Let's get an understanding. Our GSRC track guide will tell you why.
Welcome to Autodromo Internazionale del Mugello. Only an hour north of Florence and owned by motorsport royalty Ferrari, this is a popular Italian track. With a short layout consisting of 7 turns and the GP layout having 15, the full length runs about 3¼ miles, or 5¼ kilometers. It weaves through the Italian hills with pretty much nothing but long, sweeping corners. It makes for spectacular views for spectators and drivers, but difficulty in nailing overtakes. The main spot for that will be into the first corner of San Donato. From there, a climb up through a series of corners that switch back and forth eventually plunges down through Casanova and Savelli. This is where speeds pick up greatly, and the compression up through the first arrabbiata brings you to the blind crest of the second. Things finally slow back down just a bit with 2 final hairpins at Corientaio and Buccini. Make sure you get the exit right on that last one. It's more than a kilometer run down the main straight. This track was built in 1973, but has seen continual improvements and has hosted the Italian Grand Prix for motorcycles for many decades. In recent times, it finally saw an official round of the Formula One Championship in 2020. With the virtual version now arriving on iRacing, fans from around the globe can experience this breathtaking romp around the Italian countryside.
Magnificent circuit, and it has it all to go with today. These drivers will be in for a real treat in terms of their showcase, and it will have a little bit for everyone in terms of the style of racing here today, Joey. You look around these corners, San Donato is going to be one of the key places to get it done in terms of the passing game today, but you also have to look at Scarperia and Corientaio as places where a move can be constructed.
Absolutely. 15 turns, 3.25 miles in length here for Mugello. Like you said, San Donato, turn 1, probably your biggest and best passing opportunity down there. Comes after that long front straightaway, but you look at this circuit overall, lots of swing in this thing, and then some pretty cool elevation changes really in the second half of the lap, coming up the hill and then back down the final turn, turn 15. Make sure to get the nose tucked in all the way, because if you get any sort of understeer or snap oversteer, that's going to cost you all the way down that huge front straightaway.
Yeah, and it is a long uphill climb as well, so it's doubly difficult if it does go wrong. But that opening sector, you can't take too much about it away. That run down the hill through Luco, Poggio Secco, Materazzi, Borgo San Lorenzo, and then the Casanova, Savelli, and the 2 Arrabbiata corners. It is going to be an absolutely incredible ride that we're going to have in view for everyone. But this is where you have to set it up. This is where you have to be absolutely on your A game. This is going to be a tough series to go out and win, and it just proves it. 4 winners in 4 races. Mick Claridge is top of the F1 standings and is so by just 6 points over Jorge Nieva in second and Togo Hesada in third. You've got Sebastian Tixier, the reigning champion. He's in 4th. He's not a million miles behind, with John Olsen 5th and Marco Antonio Lopez in 6th position. Laust Olsen finds himself 7th with Robert Plumley 8th. Surprising to see Oye Zamayoa down the order in 9th position. Maybe a little bit of a slower start to the season. Bill Tyler rounds out the top 10, as F2 Joey has also been quite interesting.
The only difference is that driver's iRating out there. Kevin Verbruggen starting to run away from everybody else. Kirk Clapper 54 points behind, but check out this battle for third place. Jan Steffen, Rolly Wallbank, Jonathan Jordan, Arnold Cook, they're only separated by a handful of points out there, and then also another really close battle back there just after them. 7th, 8th, and 9th, Rodrigo Miranda, Jari Roukanen, and also Jem Matson only separated by, I'm counting 5 points back there. So early days in the championship, anything can happen.
Anything can happen, and it normally does. The Cup of Nations is in the hands of Spain at the moment, but it's just as tight as all the other championships because you do have the United Kingdom just 5 points behind. Following that is Japan and Singapore, with the United States 5th and the Netherlands in 6th position. Denmark find themselves just a point behind the Netherlands, with Germany in 8th, ahead of Lithuania and Finland, which marks off the top 10 in the standings at the moment. But there is still a long way to go. This is round 5 of 12. It's only 18 laps here today. It sounds like not much, but it can be an incredible amount for drivers to keep their eyes on. There are those open setups, so everyone's got a slightly different scenario that works for them in terms of their car and the way that it manufactures its way up through this Italian countryside. They don't have a spare car. If they get themselves involved in an accident today, they are stuck with the issues that they've got. And of course, as with every iRacing official series, drive-through penalty at 17 instant points, disqualification finds itself at 25. So that's what's on the table here today. Qualifying currently underway, 4 minutes remaining in that to put everything together on the board and to set those representative qualifying times. At the moment, it is Oye Zamayoa who is the fastest here with a 150.066. The number 2 in a very pristine white at the moment, a 10th and a half to the good.
See him using some of this elevation here at this circuit, climbing the hill. It kind of plateaus off here for a little bit. And we end up going back down through after this next set of switchbacks here. There's so many switchbacks here on this track, Jake, especially through the first half. It almost seems repetitive, and then it feeds you out down the hill here.
It does, and because of that, you have to be so on top of what the car's doing. Each section of the switchback is difficult, but Aldrius Valentias to the point, 49.5. He's put nearly half a second on the rest of the field out there at the moment. Jordan Gronkowski currently 4th fastest too, so some good times being set up and down the order. But through this middle sector, you can see having to fight the wheel down the hill here through some of these all-important corners out on that circuit there. That was difficult through Scarperia. Now heading to Corantayo corner, and there's a million different lines you can take here, but it's all about setting the run off the exit here through the Biondettis 1 and 2, which will be this left and this right that follows, and then over to Bushing corner, this long, sweeping final section, which descends down the hill and back up it again. This is a tire nightmare track out there with every stretch of the imagination. Not that they'll be changing them today, but Zamayoa off the exit. He will now charge for the line.
You see how long this front straightaway is. You really get a sense of how fast these cars can go. See what Zamayoa's lap time is, a 49.5. So he does improve that lap, but he does not snag away pole position. This is our provisional pole sitter right here. Valenteus coming through the final section of this track. You see how much curb they're really using, trying to straighten it out as much as they can.
Yeah, and if they can get the last section correct, they are going to have a really good opportunity to gain some time. Aldrius is flying, and can he go any quicker as he crests the rise over towards the line? 49.5. He's currently on his best at the moment, and he goes even faster. 49.4. He puts himself a firm half a second clear of anybody else out there, and he is simply on another level here today in qualifying.
What a lap out here. We still have a few cars coming around. Jack David Spickett, one of these cars that still needs to put in a lap, and his first lap is all the way at the end of the timing board. 31st is what I'm seeing out of JDS. That's not typical out of this driver. I'm usually used to seeing him more up towards the front half of the field. Now, I know that the 49s are kind of not his thing. He likes to downforce a little bit more, but I expect a little bit more the second lap.
Yeah, and this is where JDS is going to need to find something out there to see how high he will climb in terms of today's racing. This will be important to see whether he is going to be up on top or not. That is a 51 flat that he's been managing to put in, and that puts him good enough for the 6th row of the grid there in 11th position, running now through towards the final stages here. And I think that might just be the last of the drivers over the line. So that might mean we are heading towards our starting grid for today's action here. And no surprise that Aldrius Valentias is up on pole position, and it's not even close. He is half a second to the good over Oye Zamayoa. Jorge Nieva will start in 3rd with Mick Claridge, the championship leader, in 4th position. 5th belonging to Togo Hisado with Jordan Gronkowski. Gronk finds himself in 6th. Then it's Sebastian Tixier, the reigning champion, in 7th. Leo Sequeiro in 8th. Gary Ho and Stay Morris make up the top 10.
Then in 11th here, we have Jack David Spickett after that qualifying lap. Bill Tyler in 12th. Laust Olsen starting 13th. Ricardo Ruiz in 14th. Kevin Verbruggen in 15th. Jeff Saunders 16th. Marco Antonio Lopez Salgado starting in the 17th spot. Matthew Maudsley next to him in 18th. Rolly Wallbank in 19th. And Rodrigo Miranda wraps out your top 20.
And then further forward, or further back, you should see, you've got likes of Robert Plumley, the world of Kinducci in 21st. David Rossi alongside for company. Jan Stefan and Tobias Hanvi make up row 12 with Will Lamb and Jorge Lopez Izquierdo in 13th position. Then it's Andres Bruno and Alan Graham in the 14th rows, with 29th belonging to Alex Otero and Timothy Porter making up 30. And then the final rows of the grid here, Joey, come across screen.
Yeah, David Muse, Jason Clapper, Kurt Clapper, Mats Linden, Eugenio Massa, Alejandro Fernandez, Don Peak, Robert Reynolds, and Austin Ellett. 39 cars here, Jake.
It's a lot, which means that all these drivers are going to have to find a way to tiptoe around these opening laps with this beautiful view that crests up over the top, and that view to the mountains, which sits just in range. Everybody knows they've got 2 minutes to get themselves gridded up, or they have to start from that place, which is known as pit lane. There are your temperatures here today, 29 degrees Celsius here at the moment, but it is gusty here from the west, and you can catch the wind a little bit wrong, especially with how light this machinery is. So you're going to have to keep your eyes very much peeled open here today, because that, as the start of this race begins, could be one of the big talking points. They will crest the run up. Looks like a great start by Valentias off of the front of the grid. It is then side by side for second as Zamayoa will have to play defensive. There is the look then from the 4 over to the inside, trying to take that position away through San Donato and trying to climb a little bit more. Here's they go. It is Zamayoa on the inside, Claridge behind, looking to make some progress. He'll go around immediately. Championship leader almost in the wall.
And you see a few more cars replicating exactly what Mick Claridge did. The first set of switchbacks already claiming a few competitors. It's Valentias who running away. Oye Zamayoa there in second place. Jorge Nieva close on the heels in third. And I also saw Seb Tixier go 3 wide into turn 1 to start this thing, Jake.
Yeah, and everybody knows how important it is to gain time early, but there is the search down the hill. This is second position, which is on at the moment. There is the number 4 machine looking to give chase there to the number 2 and fly up the hill out of the second of the Arrabbiata corners and heading up the hill towards that all-important right-hander. You can see how aggressive you have to be through Scarperia, through the Pelagio, and now it's about this short shoot run. Too long and too short both to be an overtaking opportunity and a transfer section through the Corantayo. You're always looking to open it up.
And you see the white number 2 really square off that exit of the corner, but look at the entire field stream through this final set of switchbacks here. I'm seeing 37 cars still on track, but look at our leader, Valentias. He is stretching it out. Oh, another car. I believe that was Laust Olsen off the track.
Yeah, so Laust finds himself off. So Jorge Nieva making good progress on the opening lap then as they start to crest the rise, but 1.5 seconds already down the road. Valentias is looking to become the first two-time winner this season and make a claim as he goes forward over to San Donato. It's a long braking zone in these Lotus 49s. There is a search around the outside. That's not going to quite happen in the early stages. Tixier up 3 off of this start. He's made some good progress, and so too a number of drivers like Jack David Spickett, for example. He's up 3 as well. So drivers making good progress in the early goings, and that's all they can ask for in this race.
Good going for Seb Tixier early on, but honestly, he kind of blew turn number 1 there. Jordan Gronkowski is all over the back end of him right now, looking for any sort of room that he can get going down the hill as we watch Jorge Nieva right in front of him. And here's Jordan Gronkowski giving chase to this light blue car of Seb Tixier, and you see Seb really run out wide one more time. The only reason why Gronk is all the way up in this gearbox is because Tixier is so aggressive on that brake pedal, and it caught him out early on.
Yeah, and we know that Tixier does have a tendency to overextend and try and brake a little bit later than some of the other drivers out there. So he has to be really reined in here today in terms of how he drives around this Mugello circuit as we go on board with Jordan Gronkowski in 5th position, rushing through this long sweeping right, which leads to the final sector of the lap. Who can do what is always going to be the question here on lap 2. It's all about setup. They know that run up the hill is going to be so massively important, and Jordan Gronkowski making a first, I would say, concerted effort at this championship. He's more known when it comes to the big machinery, the formulas, the Mercedes AMGs.
I think it's cool. You see all sorts of different types of drivers come here in this vintage community. It doesn't matter if you're racing the 49s, the 79s, the Camels, or whatever. I feel like if you come in here and race here, kind of get to know everybody. You become part of this group. The camaraderie is so great. The racing is great. Like I said, you just get to know everybody, and it makes the week-to-week races so much better, and that makes you strive for that championship.
Oh, you absolutely do, and it's every single time you're going out there, you're trying to put together a championship over the course of 12 weeks. That's what it means to all of these drivers, that they want to get up near the front and do what they can. Sliding about then through the second of the chicanes. Look at this train here that Robert Plumley finds himself in the middle of. Marco Antonio Lopez finds himself second in the train, and then you've got Jeff Saunders, who has the weight of the world behind him as he starts to descend down the hill. Everybody looking back as we take a look at that Ford DFV Cosworth engine. Everybody is now trying to find an avenue where they can go through and attack, but at this moment in time, it is stations neutral at this moment.
This is a huge train. I see Jorge Izquierdo back there take away the 16th spot. Good for him, because he's already up 10 positions from the start. I really do feel like it may be Rolly Wallbank, maybe applying the pressure to Rodrigo Miranda, but this is a group that's got about 7 cars, and in these cars, you don't really have any dirty air whatsoever. It truly is about just going out there, setting your lap time, and passing somebody.
Yeah, so if you can find your lap and if you can find your overtake, you are going to be absolutely flying, and that's what's going to be next on the docket for a number of these drivers. How can I run my own times and make my own places? There's David Rossi, for example, 21st position. He's trying to get past Jan Stefan into the top 10. Kevin Verbruggen, by comparison, is way down the order here in this race, so this could be a huge opportunity for a number of drivers to gain.
Positions out there, especially when the cars are grouped so closely together. I'm watching the top speeds on some of these cars going down the front straightaway here. Already over 180 miles an hour, approaching 190 miles an hour before they got to jump on the brakes.
Yeah, so they are going absolutely at a rate of knots, and they have to be so tuned in to when they get themselves on the brakes. This middle train really does start to search. And you really do sense that those different lines here, Joey, that they're taking through the opening section of the track is going to be crucial for how drivers are going to pick up an overtake here. It's very difficult to get yourself in range to find one of them in the early stages, but you're constantly trying to pivot to the inside.
I would consider this incredibly technical, how you have to attack the track in terms of the race distance, because if you mess up any one of these switchbacks, and I mean, there's what, 3-4 sets of them on this track, and they get repetitive. Don't get me wrong, you come up here and you're like, all right, here we go again. But if you miss the apex or the turn in on even just the beginning parts of these, it can set you up for failure throughout the entire back half of the corner. And when the cars are grouped as closely as this, you're just going to be losing positions.
You absolutely are, and it is so easy to do. So you've got to be switched on, absolutely switched on here today, because you can lose all that time in the switchbacks and you can find yourself in the wrong place. We focus on that 22 of David Rossi and his continued charge here in the middle of this field. 2.2 seconds to the good is the gap up at the front, as there is Rolly Wallbank trying to find a way through. Fastest lap for Aldris Valentias, who leads this one at this moment by that 2.3 seconds of 49.7 over the line. Wallbank, his eyes on Miranda, trying to make that overtake with the 28 and 27 numbers at this moment. You always try and beat your number here in iRacing. That's always the big advantage that you've got. If you can beat your number, you're always doing something right. These two drivers doing something really right.
And to explain what Jake is talking about, how the people or how the racers get the numbers and the strength of field races based off of your iRating. So the top dog gets the number 1 plate. The furthest down, the lowest iRating, well, he'll get the number plate that's the lowest in the field, and it would be 39 here today. So if you are in the 28 car, you should be about 28th place. So if you can beat that, you are well on your way to improving.
Yeah, and being well on your way is important right now, because all these drivers are trying to build up a run of form for the second half of the season, which is only 2 weeks away. So this is where you want to start really focusing on what you've got available out there for you. Here is the search then out of the second of the Arrabbiata corners, leading up then to Scarperia, and there's not really a sense of an angle of attack here at this point. You've just got to stay patient around here. It is deceptively difficult to overtake at times, and this is where the proof is in the pudding. Everyone is running very similarly, and you get a lot of these heavy braking zones. They don't lead to necessarily the most open of corners, really, to make those overtakes. There's a lot of closed cornerage around this circuit, Joey.
Well, and you see it right there. It feeds out directly into that set of corners, and not only does it feed out into that, but you have to be careful about not jumping those apex curves too much, because they will get you a slowdown, they will get you incident points. So not only do you have to do everything to maximize your speed, but you got to keep it within the lines here. And here we go, Rolly Wallbank with a tremendous run out of the final corner. Has got Rodrigo Miranda right in front of him. Miranda went defensive for a minute, but here comes Wallbank down the inside. It's a braking duel. Miranda hanging tough on the outside. Looks like Wallbank's going to slip through.
Yeah, and trying to slip through, that might be a really important pass, and I think that's just about how you get it done. Now going to be able to attack away and break away, that's going to be crucial. Robert Plumley now sitting in 12th position, still eyeing up Jeff Saunders in 11th, and he's really trying to extend that ability that he has. He continues to get quicker and quicker with each season. As he drops down the hill, this beautiful run of right and left, always hanging on to the car with everything you've got, and then sweeping into the first of the Arrabbiatas. This is where the Conducci racing car can come alive, and these drivers already finding themselves 17 seconds off of the race lead. It's all about one at a time, and Robert Plumley knows he gets to the front of Jeff Saunders, he can catch Ricardo Ruiz just in front.
It's pretty impressive what the leader is doing out there, but you're right, Robert Plumley all over the back of Jeff Saunders. Just like we saw Rolly Wallbank a little bit earlier, you just got to go up there and apply that pressure, try to force anybody into that mistake, and check out this battle for what is the third place, the final spot on the podium. It seems like Jorge Nieves lost touch with Mr. Zamayoa out front. Seb Tixier, Jordan Gronkowski, they smell the blood in the water.
They do, and because of that, it's going to mean that that final spot on the podium is by no means safe and secure up the hill. The search starts to come along, a bit of lap traffic there on the inside, stays out of the way at San Donato corner, and now it's all about the run up to the top, which is turn 2. It's deceptive how it climbs off the exit, but there's the plateau, the highest point of the circuit, turn 2, and from here on out it's a descent down the hill till you reach the Arrabbiata section. So now through this next run, if you make one small mistake, you're going to be carrying on. It's more likely you're going to understeer through here rather than oversteer.
Now, Jake, I do have a question because I've never been here before. That is the highest point of the circuit. I would have figured the other side of the track would have been around kind of turns 12, 13-ish.
No, it's quite deceptive here around this Mugello track, and that everything is uphill and everything is downhill, so you basically need to be seeking around, trying to plan out where the highest point of the track is. It is an almighty launch up out of this Arrabbiata corner, but you always have to realize that it's very similar in terms of Tixier goes spread eagle sideways as he rushes through the fast right-hander of Scarperia, somehow saves the car, and then he goes full Tokyo spec here in Italy.
Yeah, somehow, and doesn't even lose touch with this battle. I mean, he lost one position to Jordan Gronkowski here, but you see he's still within drafting touch, so I think that all is not lost here for Seb Tixier, and I mentioned how aggressive he is with that brake pedal early on. We're going to get a GSRC replay here. Watch this blue car. He's going to be coming up to this brake zone, have a huge lockup moment because he's going in so hot, but check this save out.
Oh, it is absolutely sensational. Couldn't ask for anything better in terms of a save, and just like that, the racing able to continue in that aspect. That is as good as it gets for a stop, and now the next stage of his race is, can he get back to that group? Still got a bit of side-by-side there. That's Will Lamb in a number 6. Oh, that's actually Togo Sada. He has not had a good day so far, has that number 6. I haven't quite caught why he's fallen so far down the order, but to see Hasada in 18th, he's really been having struggles.
You know, I was just checking on Togo. I was like, oh, what's this? Oh, holy smokes, it's Togo Hasada. He started in 5th place, and I would assume that maybe he got caught up in that first lap mess where McClarridge did. But he is working his way back up. Right in front of him is going to be Matthew Maudsley. Actually, McClarridge is one of the cars directly in front of him. So I wouldn't be surprised if these two went off in that same area.
Yeah, so that same area here that they are focusing on is that turn 2, turn 3 section of circuit out of San Donato, and that leads through Luco and the Poggio Secco. So those two corners, especially in the early stages, can be really easy to get caught out with, and the responses from those two drivers, Hasada and from Claridge. Now, the good news for them, championship-wise, Joey, is they will have those 2 drop rounds, which will be able to be used to say, you know what, I had a bad race here, but I can pull that back somewhere else in the season when other drivers have a worse drop than I do. The bad news is you have one less.
Yes, and it's always nice to have those drop weeks, but I'm going to nerd out a little bit on Togo Hasada here. He's one of the younger drivers in this vintage community. He's a previous champion. He knows how to win races. He's one of the fastest guys, but what I like out of Togo Hasada is that when he gets down in a race like this, he doesn't hit that exit button. You see him try to sneak to the inside of Matthew Maudsley, just still trying to gain whatever positions, fight and claw back to try to get those championship points. Even if he's going to use a drop week here, Jake, he doesn't give up. He keeps racing.
Yeah, you've got to race until the checkered flag, and we are almost at the halfway stage already here in this race. This has been a tall order to get everything over, and I would say acceptable for Togo Hasada. Up to 17th is good, but here is Gronk looking to try and find his way forward to move up into 3rd. He knows how important it is to get into that next position. Jorge Nieva is definitely, though, a difficult character to overtake at the best of times. He does have that great speed that he can so often pull out, and he has won already this season at Summit Point. So this is some elite company that you can find yourself in, and you can definitely wake up to with the knowledge that, yes, you can go and make that overtake on him, but yes, it will also be difficult. No, searching to the inside, up over the crest, and in towards the long, sweeping Corantayo corner, and Gronkowski again finds out what makes this track difficult.
You mentioned Nieva has already got that win, but he's also the strongest points candidate, the furthest up. McClarridge had those problems early on, so Nieva running in the 3rd place, despite having the pressure, he is outscoring all of his points rivals. Now, like Jake was saying, you can use that drop week, but hey, if this actually becomes a points round, Nieva's doing exactly what he needs to.
Yes, no arguments about that. He is doing everything and then some at this point. There is no doubt in anybody's mind on how good he is driving in that third place. He is just picking up the points, he is being consistent, and he is doing what he needs to at this moment in time, which is key. Those two drivers behind, Tixier and Gronkowski. Tixier has done well to get back onto the rear of Jordan Gronkowski, and now his second phase of the race is going to be about, can I gain those 2 places back that I want? One that I lost and one that I can quite simply get back. So you are pretty much dead and set in terms of what this race is. Rodrigo Miranda is actually starting to fall back a little bit more, because that's Mick Claridge that has found his way through and up into 15th position. So some good recovery work being done then through the field. And there's Togo Hisada, who will be the next one trying to go through. Now that is a 1-2 combination that you don't often get to see there. The 1, of course, of Mick Claridge, the 2 of Togo Hisada. Rodrigo Miranda will feel like he's walked up to the front of the race here in 16.
Yeah, and Togo's just trying to under his way around this yellow car here. He's going to have an excellent run coming up the hill, but as you see, this fast sweeper, not really an opportunity to pass, but Miranda goes out wide. Togo Hisada right behind, gets an excellent run here, pokes the nose, but as we've seen before, and like Jake was saying, just sometimes those straightaways aren't long enough to get that run to make the move.
Yeah, and it's just agonizing sometimes as Mick Claridge finds out at the moment he's really trying to open up the exit, and it's all about when you can put the power down off of here. Don't spin the rear tires up. And now each single corner becomes the next focus here. That long final corner becomes key. There's a search down to the inside of Bucine. Not often we get to see that one. It's going to get close. There's contact between the two. And tipped around then goes Rolly Wallbank. And just like that, Mick Claridge will find that he there makes that tiniest bit of contact, and it pays for his opponent.
I know that Mick Claridge didn't mean anything by that contact. He probably immediately said, I'm sorry, but I also got a question here. Which would have been the faster route, Jake, to follow Rolly Wallbank through that corner and then utilize his draft down the front straightaway, or really force that issue in turn 15, and then you saw what happened?
I'd have taken a wide line through there if I was in the shoes of Mick Claridge, and then really attack that exit, but it hasn't really done him too much damage. He's still up ahead, but he will have to be very alert to everybody else in terms of the racing. So that's going to be the next port of call for him. How does he keep himself in check through the next stages? He's still got a few drivers up in front of him that he can catch in the later stages of this race, so there is still an opportunity, and I think that's the most important thing we've seen so far. Opportunities still exist, and as such, you're going to have to take them as and when they come, and that's going to be where the next phase of the race stands. As Gary Ho here in 8th position has his eyes on Laust Olsen, who's driving quite well here in 7th place, but Gary having a really nice run of things and is trying to find that avenue of attack. That Busila corner is going to be the important one. It leads up towards San Donato, and that's always the place you want to try and make the pass.
That purple car, the number 12, really try that wide entry, but he doesn't quite get the nose tucked in to get the drive off of the corner. Laust Olsen doesn't have anybody to draft in front of, but I think he did a nice job of escaping out of that final corner exit. Doesn't have to worry about anything directly behind him in the form of Gary Ho here, but this has been a really nice battle. I've kept my eye on it. Laust went around Gary a few laps ago. I maybe expected this yellow number 8 car to draw away from the purple helmet here, but he's done a fantastic job, and Gary Ho continuing to pester the back of Laust. And actually, both of these drivers, they've moved up positions from where they've started.
Well, you can't argue too much about that. If you can gain places, you're doing a fantastic job of things, and that's what we're starting to see at this moment. They're able to make those gains, and now they've afforded themselves the opportunity to race amongst themselves for a little bit. If not, Jack David Spickett's there, still on here, 4th and 3rd, and you could argue 5th wants to be in this race as well. Nieva still keeps Gronkowski and Tixier back, but patience is the better part of valor here at the moment for car number 5, and that slightly wider line taken by Jorge Nieva will afford him a 0.5 of a second here on the run to the long sweeper then of Correntino. So this is going to be about where can you afford that opportunity? Where can you pick up a little bit of time here, a little bit of time there? Gronkowski is finding out firsthand just what makes this a tough circuit to try and get the most out of it, because he's not quite in that range. He needs an extra 1/10 of a second to get there, and every time he feels like he gets close like this, well, that's the attack off the exit that Jorge Nieva gets by diamonding off the corner.
I love watching Nieva drive because he is so consistent. He nails that corner exit. You see him defensive down driver's right-hand side. Jordan Gronkowski is close, but not quite close enough to make a move here into turn number 1. You see Seb Tixier also showing the nose there. I think each one of these drivers just looking for that clear sight line, try to picture their line into each one of these corners. Oh, Jordan Gronkowski with a huge loose moment. Seb Tixier, I would expect, is going to over-under.
He's going to try and get this one sorted here. This is heading to Materazzi corner, and he'll try and cross the beams, lunge for the inside. It's not quite there. Well covered, well spotted, and somehow they keep it all together in line. So Jordan Gronkowski with the first real mistake that we've seen out of him here today around this Mugello circuit. So this is really opening the eyes and, say it quietly, lap traffic.
Oh boy. Well, and there's a handful of laps left here. It's nothing new for these Lotus 49 competitors. They're all going to squeeze by as that lap traffic was right there on the inside of the corner, but saw them coming, left plenty of room and closing gap there as Jordan Gronkowski continues to hunt down Jorge Nieva. And I gotta say that Nieva's doing an excellent job out front. He's kind of like that arm wrestling champion up at the booth right now. He's like, all right, who's next? I'll battle you. Who's next? Come on at me.
Yeah, it is a case of next one in line, and everybody is searching around and realizing, oh wait, it's me. I've got to go and make something happen. So this is now going to be about opening up and getting what is necessary. Now is the chance to try and really open it up for Gronkowski. He knows that when he crosses the line, he'll only have a handful of laps to get it sorted, 5 of them to be precise. A race that's being led by Adrius Valentias, and not even by a close margin, 6.5 seconds. He has absolutely romped away from everyone today. On the brakes, there's Mick Claridge. He gets another one then, straight through down the inside on Mikel Salgado there. So that's another overtake. That is going to be really, really nice in terms of that. And so Claridge will once more open up, but we'll get a duel up the hill towards San Donato. Now remember that the inside is going to be the most ideal line. Hisada's going to have to go the long way around, and it's up the hill throughout the entire section. So you're always going to be struggling to try and get it sorted. How's the drive off the exit? Togo, absolutely magnificent. Affords the inside line against Robert Plumley, but he's not giving this one up on the inside line. Clobbers the curb there on the inside, the sleeping policeman that was waiting, over to Materazzi. It's still going to be Togo Hisada on that inside. Finally, he'll get one secure.
Yeah, he clears Robert Plumley probably a couple corners after than what he really wanted to. He's fallen back a second and a half to the number 15 car in front of him. And remember, we watched McClarridge pass that number 15 car half a lap ago. So Togo Hisada still giving chase to Mick Claridge, working their way back up through the field. And I mentioned it before, Mick Claridge went off lap 1, turn number 2. We didn't see Togo Hisada. He actually went off. Oh, and he has a huge moment right there as well. I just wonder if Togo Hisada just has a little bit of a loose race car, because that's how he spun earlier. Turn 3, lap 1, just got too happy with the throttle, spun it around.
Yeah, it is going huge. In terms of the racing, how do you put yourself in a place to go and get everything nicely and neatly overtaken? Togo Hisada on the recovery, as is Mick Claridge. Both of those drivers know how important it is to gain as much as possible, and Togo Hisada now will sit on the back of Mikel Antonio Lopez Salgado and try and make that pass and gain another one.
Just had a huge pass as we watched Togo Hisada on the track here try to make a move around Marco Antonio Lopez Salgado. He's on the driver's right side. He does make that move into turn number 1 here, and Jordan Gronkowski put a huge move on Jorge Nieva this lap here into turn number 1. I didn't think he was going to get the car stopped, Jake. Honestly, I thought he was going to go and impact Nieva, but somehow he got it slowed down.
Yeah, and by being able to slow that down, he's now got the chance to rush away, but that gap has really opened up to Mick Claridge, who's already leapfrogged to Jeff Saunders. And I'll tell you what, Mick might be able to steal a top 10 here today, and that might be a huge result. It's on pretty much everywhere you look right now. Third is still very much a factor, as Nieva's actually lost the place. Jordan Gronkowski now finds himself third.
That's what I'm talking about. Gronkowski made that huge move down into turn number 1 there on Jorge Nieva this lap 15. So it was just an amazing move on the brakes after using that slipstream. Like I said, he came from so far back. I didn't even think he was going to get the car slowed down, and somehow he did.
Yeah, but now it opens up the chance. It'll be Nieva's turn next, and this is where he really needs to open up on the binders. Can he find that move up the top? We're at 3 laps to go at this moment in time, and look at the shadowing by Jorge Nieva. Will move across to the left-hand side of the circuit. He'll have to go the road hard traveled, which is the long way around. They will duel under brakes here. Gronkowski trying to throw it from a mile back. Earns the respect to the inside of the corner, and it's going to be able to hold it. Tixier sticking his nose in, the wiggles on the power, trying to open up each corner. Little bit wide there by Gronkowski, but he'll be able to cover it. But a secondary wiggle is going to open this one up to Materazzi corner. This is where you're going to have to go. Where do you want to look? Nieva still trying to pivot towards that inside. It's not there, but he's crucially forcing errors.
Yeah, and Tixier right there, so you got to be careful. You have to not only attack in the front, but also watch the mirror and what Tixier is doing right behind you. And remember, he's one of the more aggressive drivers on the brakes, so if he is anywhere close, he will try to go up there and jump you for that position. And folks, we got to remember, this is the battle for the podium here. Even though it's these 3 cars, they are fighting for what is third.
And this is an important third in the context of this season, as Mick Claridge has now moved himself up into the top 10 with that pass. So smiles all round for him. He's now able to rush on forward after spinning on the opening lap to get back inside the top 10 is a huge accomplishment, and he'll know that Togo Husada will be looking for 11th in the final couple of laps if he can find passes on Ruiz and Saunders in the late stages of this race. There is the number 3, making his progress now through the left-hander of the Pelagio. He'll look further forward now to Sebastian Tixier, who's thinking about 4th place because Gronkowski has almost got away to a second, almost clipping there that rear left tyre of Jorge Nieva through the final section of road at Bucine. And now on the run, the long front stretch, making that search towards San Donato. Is there going to be a move now from Tixier to try and get himself into play? The nose dips so incredibly under braking. Wide will run Nieva. Tixier trying to gather it all up off of the exit here through Luco corner. On the outside, can't find it.
Well, and you see Nieva, I think he realizes that he's struggling a little bit on the brakes compared to the other 2 drivers. I will say that his most confident area is the corner exit on a lot of these turns. He's able to put the power down, and that's why he was able to defend for so long. But now that Jordan Gronkowski has kind of run away a little bit, you got to worry about just Seb Tixier in the mirror. And if you are Jorge Nieva with only about a lap and a half left here, you either got to do 2 things. Focus forward, try to go hunt down Gronkowski and forget about Tixier, or say, hey, I just need to defend this position. But knowing that third is right there in front of you, I would go with option 1.
Well, you go with option 1. That's 1.1 seconds, but with the way that Sebastian Tixier is running at the moment, well, how can you not be on option 2 at the moment if you're Nieva? This is so difficult. The reigning champion is hounding the back of him on the run, then out of the Pelagio into the Correntaio. And this has been quite simply a race where the top 2 have hardly needed to be talked about here today. Oye Zamioa has had nothing for Audrius Valentaius. The Lithuanian has been simply on another level here at this moment. Nearly 9 seconds clear, and he does not look like slowing down. Barney waves the white flag here at Mugello. 1 final lap remains.
All he's got to do is click off another 15 turns here, and he will collect a checkered flag. And You said on another level, Valenteus just put down a lap that was pretty much identical to his qualifying effort. Also, Zamayoa, these two drivers are the only drivers in that 1:49 lap second bracket here in the race.
And that just goes to show you that these two have been top of the class. An A and an A star for performances for the pair. Down the hill then, driving it through Casanova into Savelli. The fast left-hander, the second part, leads to the Arabiatas here, 1 and 2. One of the fastest rights that you will see, one of the most ferocious rights. And then this one back up the hill, which just challenges every perception that you have of what makes a car fantastic. Looking for the brakes on the plateau into Scarperia, and then you look through the Pelagio. It's going to be a case here for Valenteus of looking to stamp a second victory here this season where others maybe have struggled. Mick Claridge will have an eye out then for a top 10, but he's not quite close enough to Jack David Spickett, who's looking at Gary Ho, thinking that 8th place is still an opportunity here in the final stages. We know how good it's been. Nieva's been able to hold off Sebastian Tixier, but for Aldrius Valenteus, as he takes the Bucine corner, he will know that his name will be up in lights. He is the benchmark this season in your Grand Prix legends. Aldrius Valenteus will dominate here at Mugello.
An amazing drive from Valenteus. Oye Zamayoa going to come across the line here in second place, and Jordan Gronkowski with that late overtake will round out your podium.
Yeah, so Jordan Gronkowski getting it done with 3 laps to go. That is a huge podium for him. The rest of the top 10 started to fly through. Likes of Leo Sapera, haven't said much about him. Laust Olsen with a good drive as well. It's going to get that one home and dry to speak of too. And quite simply put, a race where everybody will be happy to find a finish, and a long circuit comes to a very important close at this juncture of the season. Still got battles towards the end, including Kevin Verbruggen, who is down as low as 34th in this race, and he might be able to sneak away a top 20. He does have the ability to attack out to this final corner, but there's double draft in front. So if you're going to get to the line, you're going to have to get there quickly. If you want to try and make that pass, he'll pivot to try and go out alongside, side by side over the line. But Kevin Verbruggen is going to be a little bit short here in terms of sneaking a top 20 coming over to the finish. We're going to step aside for one moment with the Global Sim Racing channel. When we come back, the post-race show will be with you after this. A race of pure dominance as the front was expecting. A race of class through the middle of the field. But today was all about one driver and one driver only. He got a victory at Charlotte Roval. He'll take one at Mugello. Adrius Valentaius, absolutely a class above the rest. A third fastest lap of the season on the last lap. A pole position to go along with it. And a victory by a margin of 10.2 when everything was said and done. Second would belong to Oye Zamayoa, with Jordan Gronkowski finishing up in third and Jorge Nieva in fourth, losing out late. Fifth would belong to Sebastian Tixier, with Leo Sequeiro and Laust Olsen sixth and seventh. Eighth would belong to Gary Ho, with Jack David Spickett managing his ninth place finish. And after a spin on the third corner of this race, Mick Claridge's number 3 machine still is able to get a top 10.
Togo Hisada, striving for that top 10, will come home in 11th place today after an early spin. Ricardo Ruiz in 12th. Jeff Saunders in 13th. Marco Antonio Lopez Salgado will finish in 14th. Robert Plumley in 15th. Rodrigo Miranda in 16th. Jason Clapper, I'm looking, he is our biggest mover. Surprise, surprise, up 15 positions to finish in 17th. Matthew Maudsley in 18th. Jan Steffen in 19th. And David Rossi in 20th.
He just was able to hold on to the position ahead of Kevin Verbruggen, your F2 Championship leader, with Tobias Hanvey and Andres Bruno, 22nd and 23rd. You then got Alex Otero in 14th position. Mats Linden would be 25th. Then you got Kurt Clapper, Alan Graham, Eugenio Massa, and Donald Peake making up the last of the drivers, I should say, on the lead lap. One lap down started off with David Muse.
And then Robert Reynolds was 2 laps down and actually the last car to finish today's race. The rest of the names that you see on the screen here, unfortunately, DNFs today.
Yeah, and they include the likes there of Alejandro Fernandez, Stay Morris is in there, Bill Tyler as well, a retiree here from this one. So troubles up and down the order, but no troubles when it comes to some of the driving that has been done today. Jordan Gronkowski joins us now, a third place finish here today in terms of his work. Now, Jordan, an important race in terms of what you've been looking for. That there in the final stages of the race to move up into that third place. Just talk us through the process in terms of making that move.
Hi, Jake. Yeah, it was actually, first of all, nice to speak to you, because obviously you commentated on me for most of last year when I did the Formula A Championship, and I never got to talk to you, so nice to get to talk to you finally. Yeah, no, it was a good... I'm just kind of trying to get used to the car again, really. It's such a tough thing to drive this. So this was an interesting track because Mugello is good because of the long corners. It gives you a kind of plenty of time to feel where the car is, as opposed to sharp corners where obviously things happen a lot faster. So I felt like I kind of stepped forward this week, but the guys are so quick out there. It's just unbelievable, and I was very lucky with some incidents. Obviously, Mick kind of had an incident in the first lap, and apologies to Togo. I had to kind of avoid Mick, and I didn't have time to check if anyone was there. I just had to make sure I didn't hit him myself. So yeah, apologies to Togo for that. And yeah, after that, just kind of settled into the race, and yeah, I didn't think we were going to go places. It looked like the three of us were pretty equal, Seb and myself and Jorge, but yeah, things just kind of fell my way, and then the overtake was it was a bit of a last minute thing, but I didn't necessarily mean to throw it up the inside, but Jorge braked a little bit more than I thought he was going to do right in the end of the braking zone, so, and the gap was there, so I thought I'll throw it in and hopefully nobody will come together, and luckily that worked. So yeah, really pleased to finally get the podium back in the series again, so awesome.
So finding those legs, finding your form, it is a process that a lot of drivers go through when they take a step back, especially when it comes to a season one in 2024. A lot of drivers coming off of a Christmas break. It does take a couple weeks for certain drivers to get to that level. So for you, is this a case of now you're just trying to build those building blocks and you're looking to try and improve week on week to maybe get a little bit closer to some of the drivers who have been knocking on the door and getting the victories, the Toppies, the Adriases, the Oyes, that sort of level?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, those guys are, I think a bit out of my reach at the moment. Especially again coming to this off the back of racing the kind of modern F1 cars all year. It's a totally different way of driving it. So I'm just doing this for a bit of fun. I want to potentially do the Formula A tour again next season. So this is really my off season, which my wife isn't pleased about me racing when I'm supposed to be having downtime. But yeah, so I don't want to put too much energy into learning the car and getting used to it, because in March we'll be jumping back into the modern cars. But I just want to have some fun. To steal a podium is amazing.
Well, speaking of those style of cars and where we're heading to next week, how's your best Danica Patrick impersonation? It's Motegi Oval.
Yeah, I remember that Motegi is actually the first circuit that I did race this car in last time I did it, way back in 2021 or 2 or whenever it was. And but yeah, the oval was interesting. I think I had contact last time out. So yeah, I'm not an oval racer. I don't pretend to be, but I'm up for it. It'll be good fun.
Well, the floor is yours here, Jordan. Anybody you'd like to thank? It's a 3rd place finish here today from Mugello.
Thanks, yeah, just want to thank you guys first of all for the coverage, Global Sim Racing Channel. I want to thank the community for welcoming me back with open arms, despite me abandoning them for 2 years. And also just, my dad, who's probably watching, my mum's probably popped in at the end as well maybe, and also my wife and daughter Holly, for putting up with me spending Saturday afternoon on the sim rig.
There you have it. Jordan Gronkowski joining us then with a 3rd place finish to go back home with every single reason to be happy about that. There will be a driver who was able to finish off in 7th position overall. That's Laust Olsen. He stood by with Joey Atterbury.
Well, Laust, you qualified back there in 13th, finished in 7th. You got to be happy with the result today.
Yeah, it was quite okay. I didn't really have the pace today compared to some of the previous tracks, and I also messed up my qualifying a little bit. I think I lost 2 or 3 tenths braking too late into one of the faster corners, so could have started a few places high up, but shouldn't be. But I had some good fights along the way with Gary and Jack, and that was quite fun. And I was also catching up to Leo in the end, but yeah, too little too late, so didn't get close enough to actually have a fight with him. So, but it was everything, taking everything into account, it was quite good. The best I could have imagined, I think.
Well, I'm happy that I'm here talking to you, because I think I saw on lap number 1, you had quite a moment and had to save the car.
Oh, yeah.
I got a little too eager on the loud pedal and almost put it in the wall. Also lost a couple of places to Gary and Jack there, so if it hadn't been for that mistake, maybe I would have been a little closer to Leo in the end, and we could have had a race, but that shouldn't be, so yeah. But I was just happy that I survived.
I was watching when you got past Gary Ho about 2/3 of the way through this race. He really didn't give up on you. How annoying, how pestering was he behind you?
Yeah, it's pressure all the way, so trying to not make any stupid mistakes and not allowing him to get close enough to actually get a run. But it looked like I could keep him at 5, 6, 7 tenths away, so that was just enough to not being overtaken on the straight. So, but it was quite high pressure, I must admit.
Well, Laust, thank you so much for coming out and racing with us every single week, and once again, congratulations on that 7th place.
Thank you.
That was Laust Olsen, driver of the number 8 car today.
And not only that, we've got one more driver here to talk with, and that is Mick Claridge, who had a very topsy-turvy day today. Now, Mick, you came into today with not very much confidence in terms of keeping up with the drivers at the front. 2 corners into the race, you found yourself pointing backwards. What happened?
Oh yeah, I forgot I span. I had such a good race after that. I completely forgot I did that. Yeah, I just put my foot down too hard, lost the back end. Yeah, I was all over the place at the start. Couldn't get an apex at the start because Seb got such a good start down the inside of me there. So I was just trying to fight him off there for that corner, and yeah, really tough. No grip whatsoever there at the first couple of corners. But good fun after that with Turgo.
Absolutely. You and Togo then were able to push back your way through the field. Just talk about that process, changing your mind from out there trying to race at the front to a damage limitation, pass as many drivers as possible, because it's two different skills having to go through, and it looked like you had a little bit of an argy-bargy with Rolly Wallbank in the middle of the race.
Yeah, I just had a chat with him about it quick. Yeah, so I don't know what happened there. I think I just did I get scat off the curb or something like that and sort of drifted into him. If so, I'm really sorry, because he was having such a good race. He's had such a good week as well. He's really found some pace, so apologies to him for that if I did. But yeah, you have to really adjust your driving style when you end up at the back of the grid like that. You got to brake so early and you can't get on the power, and then you wonder if the guys are letting you through. Sometimes they let you through, sometimes they don't. Some guys will stop on the exit of the corners to let you through and stuff like this. It's just well, I could call it one thing, but yeah, it's really tough. You do have to adjust, and you have to adjust now. Do you know what I mean? You have to do it right now. You can't warm up to it. It's so tough, especially when you got little Togo behind me, like snapping at my heels again.
So easily done, but it's the transition from road to oval for next time out. Motegi Oval is the time and place. Now, Mick, the last time you were in an oval race here on the Global Sim Racing channel, you were leading with about 5 laps to go. For you, how important is it to find the same form you had at the Milwaukee Mile?
Well, I'll tell you one thing about that place. The last time we was there was a long time ago, and we had some good guys with us that week, and one in particular, Colin Bentley, sadly no longer with us. His world record time probably won't get beaten ever now. He was so fast that week. But yeah, that's another tough track for me. I was nowhere on pace. I was using his set. I was using someone else's set. I was trying everything I could. Yeah, absolutely nowhere. So I expect to... I don't expect to be fighting for the win there. Not at all. Not by a long shot. Not if anything like last time to go by. So, yeah, I'm still looking forward to it, though.
Well, we'll see how it goes for you, Mick, 1 week from today. But thank you very much for joining us. Mick Claridge there, 10th place when all things were said and done. That, though, will bring us towards a conclusion for today's action here from the Mugello circuit, the Autodromo Internazionale del Mugello. Want to give a massive thanks, though, to all of the team who has helped get it done for us today, from Robert, from Joey, and, of course, from Dougie as well. You can catch all of the equipment that has been used on this broadcast to get this shown to you live, with a massive thanks going to June Lalonde. You can catch her music on Bandcamp if you have not already. You can always catch us on our social media so you don't miss out on what's happening in terms of the next stuff on the Global Sim Racing channel. We've got 2 more fantastic races coming up on Sunday, as well as Camel later on today. So you definitely want to tune in and get yourself in on that. But in terms of today's racing, you couldn't have asked for much more if you were Aldrius. That was a case for Aldrius Valentias of being on top of the world without anybody holding a candle to the wind against him. He proves he's the Tuscany Raider, but Motegi is a different challenge. Race clean, race hard, and we'll see you over at the Twin Ring.